Anyone who has traveled on trains in Romania can confirm that they run at a very low speed, with poor quality seats and no air conditioning. When I boarded in Bucharest in this train, next to me there were two other people in this cabin that I didn't know, and it was in the last wagon of the train. After Cluj another wagon was added, and the wagon I was in was no longer the last one. All sorts of people were getting into the cabin, which was already full. They were sitting on the floor and it smelled awful. Most of them were of an ethnic group that illegally traded cigarettes in Romania, but the last wagon was free and nobody was going. After crossing the border to Hungary, I saw that the wagon was free, and in the cabin where I was sitting it was full and I could hardly breathe. I asked the Hungarian conductor if I could move to this free wagon. I was allowed to change seats in the free wagon. It was just me and the Hungarian citizen. I turned on the computer and started watching the movies I had downloaded from the torrent in Bucharest. A Romanian Roma man, so I won't be accused of being racist again, I'll tell it like it was, went to the back of the wagon. But I didn't see him go back and I didn't see him in the back seats. After 10 to 15 minutes I went to the back to the toilet and saw that the toilet was free and the door outside the train was open. I informed the Hungarian conductor that the door outside was open. The Hungarian conductor notified the relevant authorities, and at the next stop the cops checked the train. I saw the Hungarian cops climbing the ladder on the roof of the train. The stop at the station took longer. I could see all kinds of people checking the wheels on the train, and above me I could hear the footsteps of the cops. Then two policemen came to me and asked if they could sit next to me. When another Roma person entered the carriage, the policemen put their hands on their pistols, and I could tell by their attitude and their looks that they were ready to shoot. From the conversation I had with the policemen I understood that they had obtained information from the competent authorities and were prepared for any emergency situation. I was advised by the policemen not to get on trains, especially those in Romania, because Hungarians only like fireworks at New Year and Christmas. It was the first time I started to respect policemen. On December 1, 2016, a Romanian ethnic Hungarian was arrested by the competent authorities and charged with terrorism. December 1 is a national day, being a very important day for Romania, and the ethnic Hungarian was accused of preparing a bomb. Following this arrest, a Romanian intelligence service has increased its budget. The accusation of the Romanian authorities against this Hungarian was as ridiculous as the accusation that he was a terrorist. The intelligence services need terrorists, and if they don't have them, then they invent these theorists. I arrived in the Czech Republic and stayed in a student hostel. I couldn't believe what happened in Hungary. It took me 2 weeks to accept that such situations are possible. Only this time the undercover activists got the wrong country. The Czech Republic, with 2 revolutions against the Soviet regime, quickly understood what was going on. I felt support from the Czech authorities, because the smear actions against me were reminiscent of the communist repressions against Czechoslovakia, and some who failed then to take revenge on the communist system did it with the guys who followed me all the time. So the Czech authorities decided to teach them a lesson. Police officers in civilian clothes who seemed to fan some football teams, met with undercover activists and they explained to them what are the boxing rules, with many knockouts. The theoretical lesson was very quickly understood, but I was sorry that the lesson was given to the undercover activists even on the day when I left the Czech Republic. Law school lasts 4 years in Romania and I did only 3, and I didn't defend my master's thesis. I studied a lot, but I didn't have documents to confirm that I studied. After the Bucharest-Budapest train case, I had no desire to go back to Romania, especially as I had no money to buy a plane ticket. It was a difficult situation for me. I had to find a solution to finish my studies. I came back from Prague to Budapest by train, from Budapest by bus to Oradea, and from Oradea to Bucharest. Especially after meeting the 2 Hungarian policemen and the Czech team fans, I started to respect the policemen for their hard work. It is known that in most countries, whether democracy or dictatorship, there is a competition between security and police. Security works for its own interest, to place its people in a key position in the leadership of the states, while the cops work in the interest of the citizen. The talks are recorded by colleagues, friends, and they earn a lot of money. In a very short time I saw that those who recorded me bought cars, apartments. Everyone around me was making money from me. Some registrations seemed to be published by me, although I never registered anyone. Companies were also attracted, advertising in various forms. All the information, recordings, or pictures on the net do not belong to me. I'm still alive. In the summer of 2013 I was in Cyprus for almost 2 months. In the spring of 2014 I spent 3 months in Poland. In the summer of 2015 I spent 2 months in the Czech Republic, so in October 2015 I applied for the work and travel program in the US. Although I applied very early, in May 2016 the agency to which I paid all the fees for the program, but the agency did not prepare the necessary paperwork to present me to the US Embassy. Although I was 27 years old, I still wanted to go to the United States with this program. I had also applied when I was a student at the first university in Moldova, ULIM, to go through the work and travel in USA program, but because of the anti-communist protest in Moldova 2009, I did not go to the USA through this program. The work and travel agency in Romania was in no hurry to prepare my documents and I didn't understand why, and when I realized it was already too late to apply to another agency. The person in charge of preparing the documents was of Roma origin, and on the other hand, the FSB branch in Moldova and Romania were afraid that if I went to the US, there was a possibility that I would never return to Romania. I was in the last year at the Faculty of Law at the Romanian American University in Bucharest. Romanians understood perfectly well that I want to go to the United States for other purposes than working during the summer. My goal was to talk directly with the Americans and without Romanian intermediaries. The Romanians did everything else I do not get even to the US Embassy for the interview. When I understand that I won't even get to the embassy for the interview, I started calling the ones from the US Embassy in Bucharest. I also sent them faxes, and on May 7, 2016, on a Saturday, I went to the US Embassy in Bucharest and submitted a letter. I wrote that Igor Dodon will most likely win the next elections and we need your help to help us in the next elections. I didn't get any response. On November 13 the runoff of the direct presidential election was held in Moldova. Igor Dodon, the leader of the pro-Russian Party of Socialists of the Republic of Moldova, PSRM, was announced the winner, with 52.11% of the vote. In October 2016, during the presidential election campaign, Igor Dodon affirmed that Crimea, the subject of a territorial dispute between Russia and Ukraine, is a territory of the Russian Federation. Igor Dodon was helped by Vladimir Plotnyuk and the Russians to become president. Russians win in Moldova because Americans are very stupid to understand what's going on in Moldova. Russians FCK Americans like children in kindergarten, and the Russians will win every time because Americans are either corrupt or stupid. I defended my master's thesis on the third attempt, and in law I was in my last year and I had my bachelor's thesis, but because of a backlog I didn't defend it. I had to stay in Romania for another 3 months. I was admitted to a volunteer program in Denmark. It started on the 1st of August and I was supposed to teach and work in Denmark for a year, then 8 months in Africa as a children's teacher and another 4 months in Denmark. I bought a plane ticket Bucharest-Berlin for July 28, 2016. At the beginning of July, we were still in the university student camps and we still had 3 more weeks to wait before leaving Romania for Germany and from Berlin to Denmark by bus. My law colleagues organized the graduation ball, which I was supposed to attend, even though I didn't graduate, but I told them that rather than pay for this ball I'd rather drink them on a beach in Bulgaria. In the middle of July I woke up in a great mood, told the student campus manager that I was leaving the student campus, and for 3 hours I was at the Bulgarian border. I was sure I would cross the border because one of the documents required for the work and travel program is if you have restrictions on leaving the country and are allowed to travel to the US. I was sure I would get across, and I did. But instead of going to the sea, I bought a ticket to Sofia. The experience at the Hungarian border led me to the conclusion that the Americans needed a terrorist, but the Romanians gave them an anti-communist. The experience at the Hungarian border led me to the conclusion that the Americans needed a terrorist, but the FSB branch in Romania gave them an anti-communist to be destroyed and made a terrorist, and so that they don't organize all kinds of challenges for me. I decided it's better to go through Bulgaria. I arrived at the Danish organization a week early and explained that I was anxious to start the program and couldn't wait another week. The mess in Romania has been exported to Denmark. The organization in Denmark where I volunteered started to teach me Marxist ideology, which I didn't like, but because I wanted to help some African children, I said I was temporarily giving up some principles. I had a row with my teacher on my birthday. After this conflict, I decided I had to leave. That I had no reason to stay in this organization. I had to make a change, to put an end to this miserable circus. I spent only 3 months in Denmark, after which I decided to go to another country. It was important for me that the next destination must be Orthodox country, where human rights are respected and where I can live on my minimum resources so I don't starve. I chose Georgia. Throughout my life I have been helped by Georgians, a country with a very religious and characterful population. There was a problem because in October there was election company in Georgia, and my reputation as a revolutionary, there would have been some reasonable suspicions for the Georgian authorities. The biggest advantage in Georgia is that all EU citizens have the right to stay in Georgia for 1 year without registering. No matter what I told the Georgian authorities, they wouldn't believe me. I bought a ticket Berlin-Athens and Athens-Yerevan, Armenia. According to Armenian law, EU citizens have the right to stay in Armenia for 21 days without a visa. After 20 days in Armenia, I went to Georgia. I met a very old Georgian friend. I suddenly felt the hospitality of Georgians. A very friendly people, with very old traditions, very tasty food and very, very beautiful national dances. I attracted the attention of the professional Georgian police. I would say that by their level of training and professionalism they are far superior to those in the European Union. It has very quickly returned to the past mess. The same miserable Romanian and Moldovan scum, with the same miserable communist KGBist actions. Christmas on December 25, 2016 and New Year's Eve I was supposed to celebrate in Germany with my sister Olisia Plop Andrei, her husband Sergiu Andrei and my mother Natalia. My sister is 2 years younger. She studied at the same university where I studied at ULIM. I had long had reasonable suspicions that she would be Stukake like Igor, but I had no proof. She was asking questions about some things our mutual friends didn't know about. In 2012, when she got married in Moldova, I was an asylum seeker in Romania and obviously I couldn't go to her wedding. Also, I didn't go to my father's funeral when he died in the winter of 2015. Olisia studied journalism and worked for a while at a local sports newspaper. She also had a blog about sports. Even her wedding was published in the news by her colleagues in journalism, because on the day of the wedding they played football at the Zimbru Stadium between the bride's team, which were all girls, and the husband's team, which were obviously friends of the husband. In one of our discussions, she told me that she does everything possible to make sure that any information about her disappears from the net. My question was why? Because journalists do their best to stand out, and she with her journalism studies does her best not to stand out. I didn't get a clear answer. But suspicions have multiplied, especially since the story with the Arab bride at Moscow airport. Her husband bought me the tickets to Germany, but I didn't go to Germany for winter holidays.